Today we saw four slokas in which specifically mentioning about
Sometimes.
Hare Krishna. So we saw yesterday what is the influence of the Supreme Lord, and then from 5 to 8 we saw what is the supremacy of the Lord, and then somebody about who's called the Mahabhagavata. So who is the Mahabhagavata? Mahabhagavata is somebody who can see all the living beings in one ekat ekaki, okay, ekatmaka, that is one word. And then he will see all the living entities as spiritual sparks in quality in one love. And he will also see everybody as part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and then he will never hate anybody or anything. So this is the first part. And previously we saw about how the Supreme Lord is very fast than the mind. Supreme Lord is very, very close, and as well as very, very far away. Okay, so this section is all about the Mahabhagavata, somebody who will get realization about the Supreme Lord, and then he will take it up. Okay, so we'll continue from the sloka number 9. We saw from a document perspective, files, that's activation. I will share the screen and so on. Okay. So just to recollect. So we are in yesterday we finished sloka 4 to 8. Okay, the inconceivable law that can be known only by the Mahabhagavata. Okay, that is what we saw yesterday. So in which sloka 4 talks about Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tadakta Shakti, and Jivatmas are the Tadakta Shakti, and we are all part and parcel of the Lord. And then only we are submissive. Nobody can understand the Supreme Lord. Only if somebody is very submissive, they'll be able to understand the Supreme Lord. And what is the Lord's inconceivable potency? The inconceivable potency is very, very far away, as well as is very, very close to find. And Prabhupada gives in the analogy and in the purport, is talking about the Archa Vigraha form, okay, and all the other forms also, and then talking about Saguna and Nirguna. Okay. And then mantra 6 is all talking about somebody who can see Anupashyati. Anupashyati means seeing with the authority, seeing with the scripture reference, seeing through the Acharya's teachings. Okay, so 3 classes of devotees: Kanishtadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and Uttamadhikari. So Kanishtadhikari will never be able to see anything, but Uttamadhikari will be able to see everybody in equal, and Madhyamadhikari will be trying, but he will still need some more knowledge and some more mercy of the Lord by which he will be able to see. So Ekatvam Anupashyata, that's what I saw. So every Jivatma in one sense is part and parcel of the Lord, and qualitativeness will be there, and as well as from the quantity wise, it is different. Okay, so there is 2 interests. Okay, one is Lord's interest and Jiva's interest. So what is Lord's interest? So Lord wants that reciprocation. Lord wants, the Supreme Lord wants our love and affection, and then we have to reciprocate that. Okay, so the other examples also is talking about salt water. Okay, so how do we understand that quality? Like you take a drop of salt water, you take a drop of water from the ocean. The saltiness, quality of the saltiness is same as the entire ocean's saltiness of the ocean. Okay, same thing. Okay, similarly, we might have our own interest, like family interest, national interest, and also what is our real interest is towards achieving what is Krishna wants. Okay, so that is what is. Okay. So we're getting to 9th chapter, 9th to 11th. So today we'll try to see 9, 10, 11, 12, at least 4 slokas. So from here, it will talk more from a jnana perspective. So how do we keep on relating Ishopanishad along with Bhagavad Gita is more from a karma, more from individual Jivatma and the Supreme Lord. Now, one section will talk about specifically about the karma portion and as well as the knowledge portion. So this is all about jnana. Okay, jnana means directly relationship with the vidya and avidya portion. So whatever knowledge that we don't have is called the avidya portion or the ignorance. And as and when we try to get association, get into contact with acharyas, we get the knowledge portion. Okay. So this is what we're going to see from 9th to 11th. The 9th to 11th is more about knowledge and the next science portion. Okay. Can somebody read the sloka? Sloka translation.
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, Pankaj.
Andham tama pravishanti ye avidyamupasate tato bhuya iva te tamo yayu vidyaya amrataha. This is the translation. Those who engage in the culture of nascent activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. Purport, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This mantra offers a comparative study of Vidya and Avidya. Avidya or ignorance is undoubtedly dangerous, but Vidya or knowledge is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This mantra of Sri Isopanishad is more applicable today than at any time in the past. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education. But the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of the stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. As far as Vidya is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything and that forgetfulness of this fact is ignorance. The more a man forgets this fact of life, the more he is in darkness. In view of this, a godless civilization directed towards the so-called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. Of the different classes of men, karmis, jnanis, yogis, the karmis are those who are engaged in the activities of sense gratification. In the modern civilization, 99.9% of the people are engaged in the activities of sense gratification under the flags of industrialism, economic development, altruism, political activism, and so on. All these activities are more or less based on satisfaction of the senses to the exclusion of kind of God consciousness described in the first mantra.
Okay, Prabhu. We will just take a pause here. So what does Prabhupada wants to say? So from a sloka perspective, it is very clear. Those who engage in abominable activities, those who engage in knowledge without the knowledge, in the more of illusionary activities, will enter into the region of darkness. So they will completely be bewildered and they'll get into the mode of complete ignorance. But worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. Very nicely, the so-called knowledge. This is called the half-baked knowledge and yayu vidyayam rataha, which is more of Prabhupada, from Prabhupada point of view, the so-called intelligent class of men, the scientists and philosophers and so many, they are more dangerous than actually the original completely ignorant and muda, because they are somebody who's in the ignorant state, they will just accept whatever is. Somebody who's half baked, somebody who doesn't know, they'll think that they are intelligent and they will start contemplating, they will create their own philosophical understanding and meaning, and they'll create so much of knowledge. Okay. The Prabhupada is making a godless civilization directed toward the so-called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization which masses are less educated. It's a very nice word. So Prabhupada, this is all written. See, even this one, no, the mantra of Ishopanishad is more applicable today than any time in the past. This was written 50, 60 years ago. Okay, even before he departed to US, before he departed, or even before he started Krishna conscious movement, he wrote this Ishopanishad. The Isopanishad is one of the very first initial small book that he wrote. Okay, the manuscript. Then he started publishing it. Okay, Raja Vidya. So in other titles earlier it was called as Raja Vidya, King of Knowledge kind of thing. So Prabhupada's this point, this mantra Vishwapani is more applicable today than, so even before the 60 years itself is like this, okay? In terms of civilization, industrial revolution, industrialization, in terms of mass education, people are getting completely misdirected, and then they are actually more unhappy. So examples of field of mass education, so what are the different things that was told sometimes back, um, uh, when certain philosophers came in, they say earth is flat, and then after scientific advancement, then they change to the globe as, I mean, it's kind of spherical. Now because of so much of influence of education, this um, the British way of English, most of them doesn't even know there exists something called as a different theory of evolution. You know, so Darwin, when he came up, so everybody thought, oh, this is the real theory of evolution. Okay, which is what from monkey human beings came. So there is evolution slowly, from one animal to another bigger animal to another animal, and finally human birth is born, which is completely against the Vedas, is completely against our spiritual understanding. But going by our school study or school thought also, 90% of still believe that, you know, Darwin's theory is still relatively correct, and then that is what is universally accepted. Which means this is the mass education system, the so-called mass advancement of education is more dangerous because it is completely redirecting or misleading the human society. So this is what Prabhupada is making it very clear. Okay? So certain aspects of it, initially we thought in this way, but slowly, uh, then we come to know that is not the actual truth, right? So this is the main point that we wanted to highlight. Okay. So 99% of them are all of them are mostly advanced in the civilization. They just keep on working, karmi only for sense gratification. So important is all about the real knowledge versus the actual the so-called modern civilization knowledge. So that is the main influence that is being driven. Okay. Okay, continue this paragraph.
I'll
Anybody?
continue, Guruji.
Yeah, no, I got nobody wants to read.
In the language of the Bhagavad Gita 7:15, people who are engaged in gross gratification are mudas, asses. The ass is a symbol of stupidity. Those who simply engage in the profitless pursuit of sense gratification are worshipping avidya, according to Sri Isopanishad. And those who play the role of helping this sort of civilization in the name of educational advancement are actually doing more harm than those who are on the platform of gross sense gratification. The advancement of learning by a godless people is as dangerous as a valuable jewel on the hood of a cobra. A cobra decorated with the valuable jewel is more dangerous than one not decorated. In the Hari Bhakti Subhodaya 3:11-12, the advancement of education by godless people is compared to decorations on a dead body. In India, as in many other countries, some people follow the custom of leading a procession with a decorated dead body for the pleasure of the lamenting relatives. In the same way, modern civilization is a patchwork of activities meant to cover the perpetual mysteries of material existence. All such activities are aimed towards sense gratification. But above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. Thus, the aim of real education should be self realization, realization of spiritual values of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such realization must be considered avidya or nescience. And to culture such nescience means to go down to the darkest region of ignorance. According to the Bhagavad Gita 2:42 and 7:15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Vedavadarata and Maya Prahar, Maya Mayaya Praharta
No,
Jnani.
Maya
And
Aprahata Jnanam. Aprahata
Maya,
means getting confused or closed.
Maya Praharta Jnana.
Yeah.
They may also be atheistic demons, the lowest of men. Those who are Vedavadarata pose themselves as very learned in the Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said that the purpose of the Vedas is to know the personality of Godhead, But these Vedavatarata men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. So somebody, yeah, this para is also all talking about Vidya and Avidya. And Prabhupada is giving one nice analogy of cobra with a hood, cobra with a jewel on the hood. Okay, sometimes they'll say a diamond is there, whatever, any kind of a thing will be there, and that is more dangerous because that will actually lead to um, it is kind of an attraction, and then with that attraction, they are actually getting bitten or getting into a wrong way of understanding. Okay? So and then again, another example is decorations of a dead body. Even in Bhagavatam also, there are many slokas in which Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning about if this body is not utilized for Krishna. And even in Bhagavatam, second canto, first canto, many slokas it is mentioned if this body is not utilized for the service of Krishna, if this hand is not utilized for Krishna, it's kind of a dead body. It is like a dead, this one. So similarly, in certain societies, they'll decorate the dead body like anything. So the Prabhupada is making advancement of education by godless people is nothing but decoration of dead body. So it is completely, but in modern civilization, a patchwork of activities. So nice word, patchwork. So whatever we are trying to do is just a patchwork of activities meant to cover perpetual mysteries of. So whatever we are trying to see, say now everybody will try to cover, will try to forget Corona. So again, when Corona comes, they will try to do everything. The moment it goes, that's all. So there is nothing called permanent resolution of the mysteries. So they'll try to do so many things just to cover up, just to see that everything is safe. And after some years, once this all done, they just forget about it. Okay. So it's a nice word, patchwork of activities. Okay. So what is the main aim? Self-realization. And four types of people who will never come to Krishna, and then the Vedavada Rata. Vedavada Rata is all the so-called philosophers who will just who want to recite Vedas, who will just do everything, but they will never know the real purpose of Vedas. Okay, Sarvai Sachaham, Virjisannivishto, Matasmriti Jnanam. So Veda is Sarver, Aham Eva Vedya. Okay, so they will never accept the purpose of Guru. Does somebody else want to read? No?
I'll read.
Shall I read? Ji? Okay.
Anybody? Go.
Okay. As stated in the mantra one, in mantra one, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this God consciousness in the forgetful living being, and this same purpose is presented in various ways in the different scriptures of the world for the understanding of a foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religions is to bring one back to Godhead. But the Vedanta people, instead of realizing that the purpose of Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasures for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage in the first place, are the ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Vedaratas give their own explanations of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers, acharyas. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. Such Vedaratas are specially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit word Vidyayam Rata. Vidyayam refers to the study of Vedas because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge, Vidya, and Rata means those engaged. Vidyayam Rata thus means those engaged in the study of Vedas. The so called students of the Vedas are condemned herein because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the Acharyas. Such Vedaratas search out meanings in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books that can be understood only through a chain of disciplic succession. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. That is the direction of Mukunda Upanishad 1.2.12. These Vedarata people, however, have their own acharyas who are not in the chain of transcendental succession. Thus, they progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all.
Thank you, Manoj. So this two paragraphs talking about all about Veda Vada Rata. Vada means Vadam in Sanskrit. Vadam means argument. So they'll say logical argument or philosophical speculative knowledge, and then they'll start arguing. Okay, in this particular section it is mentioned like this. In this particular section it is so. This is how we concur. So like this they will keep on in a more of argumentative question answer, and then they will try to bring in some kind of a conclusion. But of course, certain aspects are good, but mostly it is kind of very, very dangerous when you start associating or discussing with it. Veda, Vada, Rata. Vada means kind of argumentative mode. Okay? Veda, Vada, Rata. That means they feel happy, they feel relishing about discussing. They'll just simply, just to show their panditvam, just to show their this one, they'll simply quote from here and there, and then they will just very nicely recite that particular verse and say, see, this is what is mentioned. And even in our, if you go to any of our villages, some of them will come and say, I know this sloka. And then when you say you take Bhagavad Gita, immediately they say, I know this sloka, this is like this is like that. And then they will start giving their own way of interpretation, so which is very, very dangerous. In Ramanuja Sampradaya, when Ramanujacharya was trying to learn the Vedanta philosophy from his spiritual master initially, like very first school time, around 10, 11 years or some time, in Kanjipuram, his spiritual master, the first initial spiritual master, he will Yamunacharya. He will try to give a completely absurd interpretation. Like the I still remember that the description or the varnana of the Lord's face, everything. So he will try to compare with a monkey, and then it will be completely bewildered. I mean, totally absurd understanding. Okay. So Ramanuja will be completely shocked. He will say, no. I beg your pardon. Whatever commentary or the so-called purport that you're giving to this description is completely wrong. You are actually comparing that to a monkey's face, which is absolutely fault. So then again, he will the same varta, the same grammar. He will try to change it interpret it in a different way, and then give the actual meaning. Okay. So at that point of time, everybody will be kind of shocked. Okay. Then what happens? Ramanujacharya will come back. He will not join the school. Then he will join another this one, and then he'll become after many years, the so-called the initial Acharya will become the disciple of Ramanujacharya, which is much more nice. Okay. So I'm just trying to say Vedavada. So these people are across multiple small villages. They will be there, and then they will try to do this all kind of this one, and they will create their own acharyas. They will never be in the normal distributed succession. Why Prabhupada is emphasizing this is knowledge is important, and knowledge gaining is important, but from whom it is we are getting is very, very important. Okay, so that is why it is mentioning, and Prabhupada is mentioning about obtaining it from the bona fide spiritual master. Otherwise, better not to get knowledge at all. Okay, so that is what is being told. Thank you. The last para, quickly.
Hare Krishna, Pranam. Sorry.
Yeah.
The Mayaya Parhita Jnana class of men are self-made gods. Some men think that they themselves are God and that there is no need of worshipping any other god. They will agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but they will never worship the personality of Godhead. Such men, unable to recognize their own foolishness, never consider how it is that God can be entrapped by Maya, his own illusory energy. If God were never entrapped by Maya, Maya would be more powerful than God. Such men say that God is all powerful, but they do not consider that if he is all powerful, there is no possibility of his being overpowered by Maya. These self-made gods cannot answer all these questions very clearly. They are simply satisfied to have become God themselves. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, you can continue this sloka also. Yeah, 10. You can start.
Prabhu, can I read?
Okay.
Anyadevahurvidyaya nyadahul avidyaya iti shushruma dhiranam yenastadvichakshire.
Right, Vichakshire. Okay, correct.
Translation by Joint Grace Bhakti Samishra Prabhupada ki jai. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that 1 minute, that a different result is obtained from the culture of nuisance. As advised in
Read
chapter
this
3.
point one by one. Okay. 10 points you read. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, 13.8 to 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. One should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. One should learn how to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization. And one must submit himself to such a spiritual master and render service to him and ask relevant questions. In order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures. One must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. One should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. One should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body.
Continue. That's okay. I think continue.
One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body or to be his own. One should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. One should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. One should become an unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. One should develop a liking for residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere favorable for spiritual culture, and one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that the spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Quickly get into this one, right? So it starts with Amanitvam, Adam Bijam, Ahimsa, Shanti Rajavam. So whatever these 18 things, humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance. So all this, finally Krishna declares, all these I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever may be is ignorance. Okay, so this is what is mean. Etat jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yato anyataha. Means this, whatever I'm whatever proktam, I'm just declaring this. This is as knowledge. Okay, whatever knowledge that whatever I'm mentioning here is knowledge. Ajnanam ato. So whatever be it, yad ato anyata. So whatever anyata means whatever others, everything else is ignorance. That's all. Okay, so this is what in 13th chapter is mentioned. So Prabhupada makes it very nicely in the same with the same reference to this particular sloka in Isopanishad. Okay, anyat eva ahur vidyaya nyayat ahur avidyaya. Iti sushrama dhiranam. Dhira means no. Dhira, you know what is meant by it. Sushruma means hearing. Okay, so what is the knowledge that is derived from Vidya, and then the knowledge that is derived from the others, like from the so-called other persons. So we have to be very, very clear. Okay, so that very, very clear portion is what Prabhupada is mentioning in this 18 particular levels. Okay. Yeah. Can somebody read this sloka? This paragraph?
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Anupama. Yeah, go on.
These 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, a great acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusionary energy, and that by culturing them one becomes no better than an ass. The same principle is found here in Sri Ishopanishad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians in spiritual guise decry the present system of civilization as satanic. Unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. Thus, Sri Ishopanishad very strongly warns that the culture of nascence is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nescience only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. Thus, there is animosity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well.
Thank you, Mataji. So very nice. Prabhupada's all like hitting with a hammer, right? So he's talking about university boys. Even 60 years ago, it is same. Now also we know all the boys all over giving their elders headache. Okay. So because due to the wrong education, right? Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over. So even before, during independence, or before independence, or after independence, whatever be the state, it is still continuing the same. Okay. Thus, Isophanisha strongly wants the culture of science is different from the lot of knowledge. Okay. He's talking about universities. He's talking about the people, the men who are completely kind of muda, like working as an ass. Okay. So this is at this point, this 18 items combine a gradual process by which knowledge. So it's everything gradual process only. So nothing will come just like that. Okay, it goes a gradual process. Okay, good. Let's continue. Let's see what Prabhupada is bringing. All about knowledge. What kind of knowledge? How we should get that knowledge? How we should not get the knowledge? Anybody? Nationalism. So I told you last time also. So I told you last time also, you will never get an opportunity to read Ishopanishad. Just don't read Ishopanishad just for the exam sake. So at least just to glorify Prabhupada, let's read the purports. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Vamsi.
Yes. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to the cultivation of nescience by the general people. No one considered that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. In comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps are like dust particles in the air. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, they are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. The drivers of our spaceships may be very proud of their achievements, but they do not consider the supreme driver of these greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. Right. There are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems also, as influential parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. We small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. The span of human life is scheduled for about 100 years, although it is gradually decreasing to 20 to 30 years. Thanks to the culture of nescience, befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grasp sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years. Such foolish people draw up various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. Yet, for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge. Yet people are falsely proud of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge. Sri Isopanishad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from a dhira. A dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. A dhira realizes that the material body and mind he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this para is all about what? About how do we realize Lord, and then also he's talking about the various planetary systems, about what is the real knowledge. He's talking about the lump of matter. We will just think it is just a small portion, but once you start reading Bhagavatam, we will realize we are very, very tiny. We are very tiny, very small compared to various so many universes floating here and there, and then so within that we are just not the tiny dust particles. So these things can be understood, and yeah, mostly 50% of nations energy is devoted to defense, and so it is all kind of statements where Prabhupada wants to make it very clear that we are just wasting our time on unnecessary knowledge. The real knowledge comes only with the spiritual progress. Okay, faulty type of education. Talking about dhira, even the previous sloka also it is mentioned about dhira, right? Iti shushruma dhiranam yenastu tat vigakshari. Okay. Continue.
Can I read, Prabhu?
Ram to yes, yes.
The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. Actually, it is the living souls, the parts and parcels of the Supreme Living Being, who move the world. The Vedas have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. Can I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of nascent education. One can become a dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, became a dhira by submissively hearing from Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead himself. Thus, the perfect disciples must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is the process of learning Vidya, knowledge, from the dhira, the undisturbed. And adhira, one who has not undergone the training of a dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who post themselves as dhiras are actually adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? Thus, one must hear submissively from a dhira in order to attain actual education.
Thank you, Prabhu. So very nice point. So what are the main points? This I think the next sloka also will continue. So this particular section is all about emphasizing we should get the knowledge from a dhira. Sthita dhir muni ruchyate. Even Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is in second chapter. From second chapter itself is asked, right? If Krishna will say, Sthita Pragya Sadavasha Samakrita. So Arjuna will ask this question. You are talking about Sthita Pragya, Sthita Pragya, Sthita Pragya. Who is that Sthita Pragya? And then Krishna will again tell how does that Sthita Pragya will talk, will walk, what is his knowledge, everything. So he will continuously focus. In that first thing about Sthita Pragya is all about self-control, controlling his senses, gaining the knowledge, performing acts without acting for the self. So dhira means first thing is about self-control, controlling the senses. Second is about gaining knowledge. Third is about ensuring everybody are equal. Performing karma is also in a right perspective. So that is what the definition of a dhira will be. So a dhira is more of a stabilized person. He will never worry about whatever be the tata mana pamayano, which means he will not worry about happiness, distress, cold, heat, whatever be is tata mana apamaya. So he will never be disturbed with the differences in the human society, right? So that is what, and then it is very important that we also understand this knowledge from a dhira. Okay, good. So let's get into the next sloka. This is also same vidya. Mataji, is anybody?
Yes,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Anybody?
Siddhi Mataji, go ahead, please.
Okay, Mataji. Vidyam cha yes tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mritam ashnute. Translation: only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Purport: since the creation of the material world, everyone has been trying to attain a permanent life, but the laws of nature are so cruel that no one has been able to avoid the hand of death. No one wants to die, nor does anyone want to become old or diseased. The law of nature, however, does not allow anyone immunity from old age, disease, or death, nor has the advancement of material knowledge solved these problems. Material science can discover the nuclear bomb to accelerate the process of death, but it cannot discover anything that can protect man from the cruel hands of old age, disease, and death. From the Puranas, we the activities of Hiranyakashipu, a king who was very much advanced materially. Wanting to conquer cruel death by his material acquisitions and strength of his nescience, he underwent a type of meditation so severe that the inhabitants of all the planetary systems became disturbed by his mystic powers. He forced the creator of the universe, the demigod Brahma, to come down to him. He then asked Brahma for the benediction of becoming Amara, by which one does not die. Brahma said that he could not award the benediction because even he, the material creator who rules all planets, is not Amar. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 8.17, Brahma lives a long time, but that does not mean he is immortal.
Okay, thank you, Manoj. I think this portion is talking about Hiranyakashipu. But before this, very specifically understanding is one sloka is also very interesting. Vidyam cha vidyam yechas tad vedo bhyam saha avidyayam mrityum tritva vidyamritam ashnute. So, which means only one who can learn the process of what is wrong and what is right, what is actual knowledge, both. So that should be there. What is the advantage? So he'll be able to mrityum tirtva. So he'll be able to come out of the janma mrityu jara vyadhi. Okay. So that is the main portion, and Prabhupada is all talking about this. Nobody wants to die. Like, no, for example, there was one case where I think I mentioned earlier also, this Michael Jackson and all, no, like he underwent so many medications between his 30 to 40 years. Just because he got a lot of money, he decided, okay, I want to live more than 100 years. So so all the doctors said, when you go to sleep in the night, go into an incubation and sleep, which means the incubation in which his body cells will automatically rejuvenate. So his body cells will remain as it is. So some kind of a medical thing and all, he spent millions and millions of dollars just to this one. So even his face, all kind of plastic surgery, whatever be it, the primary focus was just to see that he doesn't die. Okay, but still he died because at a very young age, right? Not even this one. He just died prematurely just because of his foolishness. Okay. So this talking about Hiranyakashipu also. Hiranyakashipu also same thing, but finally the Lord has a bigger plan, and then he is also getting this.
So, Prabhuji, I had a question on the translation here.
Yes.
Here it mentions that one who can learn the process of nascence and that of transcendental knowledge. So, what exactly is the process of nascence?
Process of nascence is completely opposite of process of knowledge. Whatever we say, do it this way. Process of this one will be you will not do. I mean, you will do it the other way. That's all. Say whatever example, when you eat nicely, when you eat Divya Prasadam, when you eat this one, you will get knowledge. You will get a lot of poshak. But when you read through the nescience way of eating, you will think junk food, eating this. So those kinds of knowledge will be which means kind of attractive ones, and which will actually are misleading. Okay, so that is how, like, mostly from a Rajoguna perspective, all which comes as knowledge that is kind of at a material platform satisfying your senses is at the knowledge of nescience, process of nescience. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Laura, you have a doubt or you want to read?
Oh, I wanted to tell that there is another person just like Michael Jackson. He's still alive. He's also doing same thing like incubator, morning.
Who's that?
Prabhu, I forgot his name. I'll bring it next class.
Okay. Good. So those are all the so-called foolish people. We're talking about Hiranyakashipu. Let's read about him. Yeah, Mataji, anybody? Hiranyakashipu.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah, good. Anybody?
Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. This cunning gentleman Hiranyakashipu was interested in these two things, money and women, and he wanted to enjoy them by becoming immortal. He asked from Brahma many benedictions in hopes of indirectly fulfilling his desire to become immortal. Since Brahma told him that he could not grant the gift of immortality, Hiranyakashipu requested that he not be killed by any man, animal, god, or any other living being within the 84 lakh species. He also asked that he not die on land, in the air or water, or by any weapon. In this way, Hiranyakashipu foolishly thought these guarantees would save him from death. Ultimately, however, although Brahma granted him all these benedictions, he was killed by the personality of Godhead in the form of Narsimha, the Lord's half lion, half man incarnation. And no weapon was used to kill him, for he was killed by the Lord's nails. Nor was he killed on the land, in the air, or in the water, for he was killed on the lap of that wonderful living being, Narsimha, who was beyond his conception. The whole point here is that even Hiranyakashipu, the most powerful of materialists, could not become deathless by his various plans. What then can be accomplished by the tiny Hiranyakashipus of today, whose plans are thwarted from moment to moment?
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So very clear, no? This story about how Hiranyakashipu wants to achieve Amaram portion, and then how the Lord this one. Okay. Yeah. Any other Mataji? Mataji, somebody else wants to read?
Hare Krishna. Sri Isopanishad instructs us not to make one-sided attempts to win the struggle for existence. Everyone is struggling hard for existence, but the laws of material nature are so hard and fast that they do not allow anyone to surpass them. In order to attain a permanent life, one must be prepared to go back to Godhead. The process by which one goes back to Godhead is a different branch of knowledge, and it has to be learned from revealed Vedic scriptures such as Upanishad, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. To become happy in this life and attain a permanent blissful life after leaving this material body,
one must study this sacred literature and obtain transcendental knowledge. The conditioned living being has forgotten his eternal relationship with God and has mistakenly accepted the temporary place of his birth as all in all. The Lord has kindly delivered the above mentioned scriptures in India and other scriptures in other countries to remind the forgetful human being that his home is not here in this material world. The living being is a spiritual entity and he can be happy only by returning to his spiritual home.
Thank you, Madhagi. So Anupam Madhagi's question was, how do I understand knowledge of nescience? Knowledge of nescience is, to be little more elaborative, it is more of three categories. The first category is knowledge of nescience, whatever we are reading through material knowledge, whatever our graduation, our knowledge of physics, chemistry, biology, history, geography, it is all about nescience only. It is not really directly relating to the spiritual progress of the human body. Okay, it is all talking about all mechanical engineering, robotics, all kind of this civilization history, whatever be it, it is not directly relating towards Supreme. Okay, this is at the material platform. So that is all about knowledge of nescience at the material level. The second knowledge of nescience is all about the revealed, the scripture itself is getting misinterpreted. Like the same Bhagavad Gita or the same Bhagavatam, somebody else will have their own way of interpretation and they will come up with the pseudo literature. So that is again nescience, because that is completely leading to a different understanding, different way of false direction, and will go. So this is much more. So these two categories. The third category is all about quick wins, right? So which means the knowledge by which you try to have a lot of sense gratificatory activities. You don't really get into any kind of the so-called standardized way of knowledge, but knowledge by which you try to gain certain aspects to achieve quick power, freedom, whatever be it. So that is also so knowledge of nescience is divided into these three categories. So Prabhupada is condemning all kind of three categories. Whatever we are reading through in the universities, whatever we are trying through this theory of evolution, this philosophy, this chemistry, all those things, if it is not directly in pursuance or accepting the hand of Lord, it is all nescience. Number one. Number two, the Vedic literature itself is ulta karke, matlab they will write in their own way. That is also completely condemned. Third one is all about the latest, the so-called modern way of this one, and which is kind of the practical knowledge by which from this to that, immediately you get this result. So all those mushroom way of knowledge. Okay, clear?
Thank you, Prabhuji. This is very nice. Thank you.
So this is, let's get into the discussion. Yeah, Mata.
Prabhu, why is it called mushroom way of knowledge?
Mushroom way of knowledge is sometimes, mushroom is just like that on the roadside. If it is a slight rain, immediately it will grow. There's nothing to be required for it. It will grow anywhere and here, everywhere. And it will just come like within like, whenever there is a rain, it will just like that come. Okay, so there's nothing to be done. And then it will be automatically destroyed. So that is why they call it mushroom way of education. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Amala.
From his kingdom, the personality of Godhead sent his bona fide servants to propagate this message by which one can return to Godhead. And sometimes the Lord comes himself to do this work. Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material conditions. The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya, or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge, and a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called Naradhama, the lowest of human beings. The path of avidya, or advancement of material knowledge for sense gratification, is the path of repeated birth and death. As he exists spiritually, the living entity has no birth or death. Birth and death apply to the outward covering of the spirit soul, the body. Death is compared to the taking off, and birth to the putting on of outward garments. foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya, nations, do not mind this cruel process. Enamored with the beauty of the illusory energy, they undergo the same miseries repeatedly and do not learn any lesson from the laws of nature.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So this is again specifically focusing on the importance of human life, human. This is from the first sloka of Isopanishad itself. The same thing continues. So if you go through in a sequential order, first sloka is all establishing about Purnatvam. Second sloka is all about why Krishna is Isha Vashyam. He is the proprietor. From third onwards, it will start about human life, human form of body, and then slowly getting into a progressive way of getting this knowledge, understanding the Supreme Lord, understanding His supremacy, understanding who we are, understanding why this knowledge is important. All these things, if you see, it's kind of a very sequential way of understanding Isopanishad. Okay, same thing when you try to see the sequence in Bhagavad Gita also, the same thing will apply. Okay. Yeah. Continue. Prabhuji, is anybody? That's for the cultural.
Yeah, bro. Hare Krishna.
Appreciate that.
Therefore, the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge is essential for the human being. Sense enjoyment in the diseased material condition must be restricted as far as possible. Unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. The living entities are not without spiritual senses. Every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses, which are now materially manifested, being covered by the material body and mind. The activities of the material senses are perverted reflection of the activities of the original spiritual senses. In his diseased condition, the spirit soul engages in material activities under the material covering. Real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. In our pure spiritual form, free from all material contamination, real enjoyment of the sense is possible. A patient must regain his health before he can truly enjoy sense pleasure again. Thus, the aim of human life should not be to enjoy perverted sense enjoyment, but to cure the material disease. Aggravation of the material disease is no sign of knowledge, but a sign of avidya, ignorance. For good health, a person should not increase his fever from 105 degrees to 107 degrees, but should reduce his temperature to the normal 98.6. That should be the aim of human life. The modern trend of material civilization is to increase the temperature of feverish material condition, which has reached the point of 107 degree in the form of atomic energy. Meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that at any moment the world may go to hell. That is the result of advancement of material knowledge and the neglect of the most important part of life, the culture of spiritual knowledge. Sri Isopanishad herein warns that we must not follow this dangerous path leading to death. On the contrary, we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may become completely free from the cruel hands of death. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Should I read?
No, it's okay. So thanks, Prabhu. So this big para is all about again understanding the knowledge. Yeah, how do we get that specific knowledge? And Prabhupada is giving this example of this temperature, like So real knowledge is for good health. You need to have a proper knowledge, and it's not that certain things will go increasing, and you should be properly maintained at whatever specific level that is mentioned. Okay, it's talking about modern trend of material civilization, increase the temperature of. So again, these are all, and even still now foolish politicians are trying to cry, and even when that world even now also there are some societies will say, oh, after 2000 you will get the world will be destroyed. After 2050 the world will be destroyed. After 2035 it will be destroyed. I mean, something or the other it is going on. No? So foolish politicians are crying that at any moment the world may go to hell. So this is that is advancement of material knowledge. So they don't get the real knowledge. So main important is we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may be completely free from the cruel hands of the death. So which means we should be prepared to die. Like, whatever be it, suddenly if we get more of material knowledge, if something really happens, then we are in a very bad state. But even though we try to practice spiritual platform, certain times when we try to face it, at least we will get that particular confidence, at least that state of mind by which we'll be able to ready to face difficulties. It is not that we are running away or shooing away from difficulties. At least because of this knowledge, we know this is temporary, we know this is this thing. So at least we will be able to uh, uh, manage it more effectively from the death, whatever be it, death, old age, disease, whatever be it. Okay? So that is why it is very important. Yeah, few more paras. Let's finish this. Okay. This para. This does not mean that all activities. Yeah, anybody? Mataji's.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Okay, Adi Gayatri Mataji.
This does not mean that all activities for the maintenance of the body should be stopped. There is no question of stopping activities, just as there is no question of wiping out one's temperature altogether when trying to recover from a disease. To make the best use of a bad bargain is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the help of the body and mind. Therefore, maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach our goal. The normal temperature should be maintained at 98.6 degrees, and the great sages and saints of India have attempted to do this by a balanced program of spiritual knowledge. They never allow the misuse of human intelligence for diseased sense gratification. Human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated in the Vedas under the principles of salvation. This system employs religion, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, but at the present moment, people have no interest in religion or salvation. They have only one aim in life, sense gratification. And in order to achieve this end, they make plans for economic development. Misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death, in heaven, there is some system of religious observance. But this is not the purpose of religion. The path of religion is actually meant for self-realization, and economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like an ass or for culturing avidya for sense gratification.
Thank you, Anjali. So this is again very nice points. Any specific nice points? They have only one aim in life, sense gratification. So Prabhupada is talking about this, temperature. I mean, how spiritually we'll be able to do, how materially it will be able to do all those things. These employs really dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So whatever this system employs, really, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. At the present moment of life, people have no interest in religion or salvation. So Vedas give all four. Vedas give dharma, artha, kama, moksha, but beyond that is what is more important about bhakti, about, okay. So Vedas, the flowery words of Vedas in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, it will come, no. So when you read through Bhagavad Gita, Vedas initial understanding, it is all about talk about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Like how do I improve my economic development? How do I improve on this? How do I improve on that? And how do I enjoy this material world? All those things will be there. And also mukti. So finally, if somebody wants to get mukti, that is also that. But beyond that is devotion service, right? So that is what is more important. They're talking about economic development, sense gratification, and the path of religion is more for self-realization, right? So maintaining this body is also very important. Nahi kastit shanamapi. This human body, nahi kastit shanamapi. Even for a single moment, this body cannot remain idle, right? The being either the mind level or the body level, to try to do some kind of an activity or other. Okay. Yeah.
Prabhu, one question.
Yes,
So Prabhu, this line says, thus in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death, in heaven there is some system of religious observance. What does that mean, Prabhu?
So when you go there also, when you go to heaven, they will follow certain rules and regulations, certain principles by which this particular Jivatma will be allowed to do these things. Based on the karma, based on the pious activities, they'll still follow certain rules and regulations. So those rules and regulations are more from their perspective, it's kind of religiously following certain activities. So they will also have certain procedures, certain ways by which everybody will be treated properly. So, for example, if you have a very good, nice karma, you go there, you will be treated very royally, like a big prince or a big princess or a king, queen category. But if you have very less pious activity, then that also will have certain procedure. So accordingly, based upon that, they will follow certain rules and regulations. That's all.
Okay.
But whatever be it, it doesn't really matter, right? So after some time, once that karma is, the pious karma's portion is over, then they'll have to come back. So that's all. So nothing really to be. But Vedas give that also. Vedas gives that opportunity for that particular Jivatma to have that enjoyment. Clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay, last.
Okay. From here, Prabhuji, the path of Vidya.
Yes, yes.
The path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire into absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized step by step as Brahma, Paramatma, and finally Bhagwan, the personality of Godhead. The absolute truth is realized by the broad minded man who has attained knowledge and detachment by following the 18 principles of the Bhagavad Gita described in the purport to Mantra 10. The central purpose of these 18 principles is the attainment of transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead. Therefore, all classes of men are encouraged to learn the art of devotional service to the Lord. The guaranteed path to aim of Vidya is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we have presented in English as the nectar of devotion. The culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.14 in the following words. Tasmad ekena mansa bhagavan satatvam pathe srotvaya kirtivyascha dehe pugyascha nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Unless religion, economic development, and sense gratification aim towards the attainment of devotional service to the Lord, they are all simply different form of nescience, as Sri Isopanishad indicates in the following mantra.
Thank you. This sloka is also Bhagavatam is Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagavan Satvatam Patihi Shotavyasya Kirtivyasya Deha Pujasyasya Nityada. Okay. Therefore, the one ekena manasa Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagavan Satvatam Patihi. Okay. Then if somebody is having that ekena manasa, definitely he will be able to get that particular protection from the Supreme Lord, and then he will be able to understand. Clear, nice. The guaranteed path of Vidya is described. So this is what concludes this section of knowledge. Okay. So if you want, I will give you some more examples of how when Amala Gaurangi Mataji asked about this question, how religious there is some system of religious observance. If you read through Garuda Puran, one portion of Garuda Puran will talk about not only about the hellish conditions, other thing also heavenly portions. So if you go to heaven, no, based on your karma, they will follow some religious procedure. Like if you are to be treated as a king, if you are to be treated as a brahmana, if you are to be treated as a very this one, there is a very religious process. Like you should be glorified. You should be for you. They will do arti. They will do shodaja upachar. They will do all kind of things based on your pious credit. So, which is actually nothing but sense gratification. So whatever we wanted to enjoy in this life, like for example, you wanted to enjoy nicely, so you do a lot of good karma. So there, if you go to Swargaloka also, somebody should be there to treat you very royally, treat you a lot of this one. So they follow very nice, like for example, if you go to any suit, any kind of 5-star restaurant, or what do you say, Maharaja, this one, like wheels on the palace, or some kind of Jaipur palace, or where if you go there, they follow a very nice way of observing certain procedure. So which means they are very religiously following, which means they are trying to serve you nicely, and you will be treated very nicely. So that all your pious karma is getting exhausted. But what is the point is, because it is again continuation of the sense gratification from here to there. So there's nothing really big different about it. Okay. Even after death, that will continue. But after some time, once that credit is over, everything will come back, and then that particular Jivatma has to again take birth. Okay. Clear. Let's see. Another 10 minutes. Okay, this will talk about the demigod worship. Okay, maybe we'll just go back and summarize this particular portion that we saw today. Okay, and then we'll stop here, no problem. So today we saw 4 slokas, slokas number 9 to 11, all about cultivation of knowledge and the difference of understanding what is real knowledge, what is nescience knowledge. Okay, so mantra 9, good to see. Mantra 9 is all talking about avidya and vidya and Veda Vada Rata. So 2 aspects of very detailed understanding of Veda Vada Rata. So we should never get into association of Veda Vada Ratas, because they just are very speculative. They'll lead us into a completely different direction. Okay. And mantra 10 is about culture, results of what is the result? What is the result of knowledge? The result of gaining knowledge is apavargam. We go out of this particular material world. Result of nescience will again take us to the darkest regions of ignorance. But the result of culture and of knowledge will take us out of this particular material world. So we'll become dhira, will become more of self control. Second aspect of it is we have to get that knowledge from whom? From the dhira person, or from the person who is completely at a dhira stage, who is very fully advanced. And Prabhupada using this best use of bad bargain. Okay, best use of bad bargain is a very nice term. So our life itself, human form itself, is kind of a bad bargain state. So whatever is available with our current state, current materialistic facilities provided in this world, so we are trying to use of it, at least to whatever extent possible. We should be very thankful to the Lord that we have this all kind of nice facilities, sophistication, so that we try to make use of these facilities to gain knowledge about the Lord. One-sided attempt of Hiranyakashipu. One-sided attempt to win both birth and death. So like Hiranyakashipu's example. Okay. And then another example is feverish atomic energy, trying to increase the temperature or reduce the temperature. It is more of balancing what is actually required. So today we saw 4 slokas, all about the knowledge portion. Sorry, 3 slokas, 9, 10, 11. It is okay. I mean, from next it will talk about, this is again demigod worship versus the Supreme Lord worship. So this is where 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita will come. Remember when you so in the 4th chapter, what is the last important point? Okay, very important. Tasmat ajnana sambhutam hrit samitam jnanashtamah chitvainam samsam yogam atishto atishta bharata. So cut off, you just with your chitva, with your weapon or with your sword, cut your ignorance. Okay, how? Through weapon of knowledge. Okay, hritrishtam jnana asinaha. So tasmat ajnana sambhutam. So whatever knowledge, whatever ignorance that has arisen, just cut it off through gaining knowledge. So 4th chapter conclusion is very important, where we see Krishna emphasizes a very important point that you should gain knowledge. Without knowledge, you will never be able to proceed, which means how do I cut the ignorance is through gaining knowledge. Right? Chitvainam samsam yogam atishto. Then you stand up and atishto uttishta bhadra. So stand up and fight. So this fourth chapter, if you see, it is all about knowledge about the Supreme Lord. And the first section of, we all know, right? This first section is all about the Supreme Lord. Who is he? Why is he there before? Why is he there after? Or whatever be it, and who can approach him? And what does he give as the Chaturvayam system? And then how do we come out of it? Then he's talking about Yajna, Dana, Tapasya. Everything is all about this one. Who can really get that knowledge? So everything is about this. So when you try to compare this fourth chapter with the 4 slokas that we saw today, we can really relate to and then see why the Lord wants us to get knowledge. Prabhupada also is making it very clearly that we should somehow or other get that knowledge. Okay, so today's portion is this. Okay, so this is what we saw today. Quick recap, another 2 minutes, we'll try to close. Lesson 5. So first is all about proprietorship of the Lord, vision of Mahabhagavata. That is what we saw yesterday. And today we saw about knowledge portion. This is section 3. Wait, the previous one. One particular section missing. I'll search for the particular section. I don't know why that section is missing. Maybe then next class we can continue. Okay, then I think I'll stop here. Let's not get into it. So next class we will continue. We'll continue with the remaining slokas and then try to complete. Next class, I think we should be able to complete the all the other sections of Isopanishad. Another 6 more slokas, I think we should be able to complete by next class. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hari Bol, thank you.